I was excited to get him back, and he did provide. I mean, he's great for our room. He's a great, he's got the veteran presence to him in the big games and played in playoff games. Hopefully continue what we started last year. It was a great addition to us, not only but he helped provide a spark.
For them to not pick a guy early on, to me says they really like our guys and have faith in them. It all starts with Devontae and his abilities. He's just such a dynamic player. When you have a dynamic guy like that, he opens up the field for the rest of the guys. That's where you saw guys like Allen Lazard, making big strides. You saw Jake make plays. You saw at MVS have games where he was a big factor for us. Like I said, I'm excited about seeing EQ back in the mix. Having Devin, who's a veteran guy who's made plays in the league for a number of years and is hungry coming in. I feel really good about that group, and obviously the front office did as well.
Man, I'm so excited. Let's roll. Let's go. Let's roll.
I was really excited to see Big Dog come back because I think he not only adds such a great presence to our run blocking scheme, but to our locker room. He's just a constant professional, a fantastic leader for our football team. Bringing him back was an important part, I think, to shore up that room.
Tight end Marcedes Lewis turns 36 this week. He has over 200 NFL games under his belt. And last year, number 89 helped pave the way for 18 rushing touchdowns by Green Bay, the most for a Packers team in a decade.
He's one of the best blocking tight ends in the National Football League. And then when given the opportunities in the pass game, he produced for us. You can never have enough guys like Marcedes Lewis on your football team.
The same can be said for Adams. The Pro Bowl wideout notched a career-high 5 100-yard receiving games. Then in the playoffs, Adams added 2 more and led the league in postseason receiving yards.
Over the shoulder, catch, out of bounds.
It all starts with Devontae and his abilities. When you have a dynamic guy like that, he opens up the field for the rest of the guys. That's where you saw guys like Allen Lazard, making big strides. You saw Jake make plays. You saw at MVS have games where he was a big factor for us. And then having Devin, who's a veteran guy who's made plays in the league for a number of years and is hungry. And from his football IQ, we've had some really good conversations, him and I.
Devin Funchess, who celebrates his 26th birthday today, is another third-down weapon for Aaron Rodgers, scoring 9 of his 21 career touchdowns on the money down.
I like our chances. I like our squad. I like the leadership of the football team. And I also like that, there's probably not going to be sky-high expectations for us like last year. And at the same time, I really feel like we'll be in the mix.
With Jace, I think it's just being consistent, understanding the system, understanding his role, where he fits so that he can get out on the field and understand what he needs to do to get his job done. I mean, he has an element of speed that is very impressive. He's got fearlessness. He's very aggressive. So he has a lot of intangibles. And I think just being able to be consistent, both being available and understanding, what he needs to accomplish on the field is going to be huge. And if he gets that, I think, he's going to be a guy that potentially can help us.
The Green Bay Packers have had double-digit wins in all but 4 seasons since 2008, which makes their 9 win total for 2020 very, very interesting. Let's break down what the odds makers are saying with Packers Central, Bill Hubert, and our fantasy and gambling insider, Jamie Eisner. Jamie, I'll start with you. The sportsbooks have their over-under for wins set at 9 this year. What are the odds makers saying, and what do you think is the right bet?
Well, they've got even juice on both sides, and this is an interesting opportunity for Packers backers because after the draft, this dropped from 9.5 to 9. Look, I know they've been heavily criticized for not taking a wide receiver in round 1. Maybe they didn't need to take A.J. Dillon when they did. But this is still a 13-win team from last year that's bringing back all of their key pieces. They have an elite quarterback, an elite wide receiver, an elite running back, an improved defense, a second year under Matt LaFleur. So all those things are in their favor. I know the division can be tough, but it's not one of the 2 or 3 toughest in the entire league. I'm very surprised that this total is this low.
Jamie, I'm with you. This is a 13-win team from a year ago, and if anything, I think they've gotten better. Bill, where are you going on this bet? Over under 9 wins?
I'm going over. I'm with G-Man this one. I don't understand it. I will say one thing. Last season, Green Bay was 8-1 in 8-point games, 1-score games. That's hard to replicate. That being said, The last time Matt LaFleur was in year 2 in a job was in Atlanta. The Falcons went to the Super Bowl. Matt Ryan won MVP. This is year 2 with LaFleur and Rodgers. I would think the offense will be better. You know, they might not win 11 or 12, but they've got to win at least 10, right?
Yeah, that's the way I think all of us are leaning on this one. Jamie, Bill, thank you for your analysis. We are breaking down every NFL team's win total. You can find it all from Sports Illustrated by going to si.com/gambling.
The Green Bay Packers have won the NFC North 6 of the past 10 seasons, including last year. But will this be the year the Bears, Vikings, or Lions come up and knock them off? Let's start in Green Bay, where the defending NFC North champs didn't do a lot to the roster. It's been talked about a lot this offseason. They drafted quarterback Jordan Love in the first round, a very controversial pick. And it was controversial because they didn't do much else with the skill positions around Aaron Rodgers. When I take a look at the Packers' schedule, a 5-game stretch really stands out because 4 of those games are going to be at home. Starting on November 29th, the Packers get the Bears, Eagles, Panthers, and Titans all at Lambeau Field. There's some tough opponents in there, but the Packers are supposed to win late in the year when it gets cold at Lambeau Field. So if they can get on a roll in those home games, they can really make life tough on the rest of the NFC North. At BetMGM, the Packers over-under win total is 9. That's a really tough number. I think the Packers are going to land right about at 9. If I had to take one or the other, I think I'd go slightly to the under, thinking that this Packers team is in for some regression, and maybe this quarterback controversy between Aaron Rodgers and Jordan Love really affects the team. So I'll take a lean to the under on 9 wins for the Packers. Next, we're going to go a little bit to the south and the Chicago Bears, who had an odd offseason. They traded for quarterback Nick Foles, which seemed like a little bit of a desperation move, given that they don't have a lot of confidence in Mitchell Trubisky anymore. They signed Robert Quinn, they signed Jimmy Graham, but I don't really love what the Bears did roster-wise in the offseason unless Nick Foles really has a big year for them. When I look at the schedule, 2 games obviously stand out. Week 12 at Green Bay, Week 17 against Green Bay. The Packers and Bears, longtime rivals, and I think that Week 17 game at Chicago between the Bears and Packers could end up having huge playoff implications. When I look at BetMGM's win total for the Chicago Bears, it's 8.5. That seems a little lofty, and I'll lean to the under. I think a lot can still go wrong for the Bears if they're unsettled at quarterback, their offense doesn't rebound. This defense is very, very good, but I'll still take the Bears under 8.5, even though they have a chance to rebound this season. Next up is the Minnesota Vikings, who saw a lot of roster turnover this offseason. They had salary cap problems, so some veterans had to go. Stephon Diggs was traded to the Buffalo Bills. Others like Linval Joseph was let go. This is a Vikings team that's going to look a lot different and a lot younger. They had a huge draft class this year, led by LSU receiver Justin Jefferson, who's going to step in and play right away. When I look at the Vikings schedule, I think they need to get off to a fast start, and it's not going to be easy. They host the Packers in Week 1, and that becomes a huge game because 3 of their next 4 are on the road. If they lose to the Packers on opening week, the Vikings are looking at a really rough start to the season, and that's not what they want, especially with how much change they've had. At BetMGM, the Vikings over-under win total is 8.5, and I'll go under that. I think with all these changes, it's going to be tough for the Vikings to maintain the high level they had last year. Finally, we're looking at the Detroit Lions, who again this offseason built a roster full of ex-Patriots players. They had a Danny Shelton, Jamie Collins, Duron Harmon. You can sense a theme. It's the second straight offseason for Matt Patricia. He's relied on old Patriots players to bolster his roster. They did lose a lot of talent. They traded Darius Slay. I really don't like what the Lions did this offseason, but that's kind of par for the course for that franchise. This is a Lions team that's going to have to get off to a fast start this season, but when I look at the first 4 games of the schedule, it's going to be tough. They play the Bears in Week 1, a tough division rival. Then they go on the road to play the Packers and a really tricky Cardinals team that gave the Lions a bit of problems last year. At the end of that 4-game stretch is a home game against the New Orleans Saints. At BetMGM, the over-under for the Lions is 6.5, and like the rest of the division, I have to go under with that. Matt Patricia needs to show me he's a quality coach in the NFL before I give this team the benefit of the doubt. If you want to get in on the action, go to betmgm.com/Yahoo and sign up today. New users get a 100% match up to $1,000 on first-time deposit. To sum up an NFC North that I'm obviously not very high on, I do have the Green Bay Packers winning the division again, albeit at about 9-7 or 8-8 as they regress a little bit. Right behind them, I have the Chicago Bears, also right around 8-8, and the Minnesota Vikings, who I also believe are going to be right around 8-8. And then in last place, I have the Detroit Lions, who aren't going to be that close to 8-8, as Matt Patricia is fighting for his job.
NFL OTAs should be starting right about now, but of course, things are delayed. If they had started, these are the storylines I'd be watching at NFL organized team activities. The first is in Carolina. I'd be interested to see how Matt Rule, who's coming from Baylor, Joe Brady, who's coming from LSU, and Teddy Bridgewater, who's coming from the New Orleans Saints, how they come together in what should be an explosive passing offense. The second storyline is in Green Bay, where the Packers have obviously a #1 quarterback in Aaron Rodgers, but I'm so curious about that #2 quarterback, Jordan Love, picked in the first round. The Packers supposedly had circled him as one of their favorite prospects. They traded up to get him. That didn't make Aaron Rodgers happy, but I'm curious to see how the competition evolves. Finally, the Browns every year seem so close to being a good NFL team, and every year they disappoint. And though coaching turnover has not worked for the Browns, there's reason to believe they might actually turn the corner this offseason. They added even more talent to the position of tight end. Austin Hooper arrives in free agency. In the NFL draft, they took Jedrick Wills out of Alabama. And then in free agency, they added Jack Conklin. I think those two signings, or those two additions rather, are the most important. And perhaps they're the reason why Cleveland can finally get into the playoffs.
What do you guys have in Christian Kirksey, and how much more comfortable signing him were you despite his recent injury history because of the time you guys spent together in Cleveland?
Yeah, we're very excited about the signing. Just going through the medical part of it and talking to our people, they didn't think it was anything that was long term. I mean, he's never been a guy that's been injury prone. So obviously that's a concern when you see the amount of time that he's missed. But overall, I just think it was a great signing for us for a lot of reasons. I mean, we're not just bringing a really good player into the room. I mean, this is a guy that's got great leadership ability. He already has a head start on learning the system with him being drafted, obviously, when I was in Cleveland. So certainly it's a risk when you look at it, but certainly it was a risk that we were more than willing to take. So like I said, we're excited about it.